What I'd like to do, though, now is take the Yuvalian long view. In the context of the millennia of history, how do you think this year will be seen?
Oh, well, I'm not sure it will be remembered. You know, when you're in the midst of a historical event, you're usually convinced this is the most important thing that ever happened. But then after a few decades, not just a few millennia, after a few decades, people hardly remember it. And we've seen it with previous epidemics. Epidemics in general tend to leave a much smaller imprint on history than people assume. If you think about the big influenza epidemic of 1918, for example, it had a far smaller impact than the First World War, even though it killed more people. If you think about art, just compare the number of books and poems and TV series about the First World War to the basically non-existent crop of poems and books and TV series about the influenza. Now, this may be changing now because the nature of pandemics is changing. Throughout most of history, pandemics were seen as natural disasters beyond the control of humans. So they were, in this sense, less interesting. Now, because of our scientific capabilities, pandemics have become a political disaster or a political failure. If there is a pandemic, it's no longer a natural disaster, it's a political failure. And therefore, they are also becoming much more interesting because politics is always more interesting to people than natural disasters.